Hey, real quick before the video starts, I thought I should probably mention that when I was recording this video, I had my dogs on my lap and I was extremely tired. So not only was I really distracted, but I for some reason took myself way too seriously when explaining a Christmas concept, which it might just be my extreme passion, I don't know, but I was talking about gift giving like my life depended on it. So take everything I say with a little grain of salt. It's not this intense. Getting gifts should be fun. It shouldn't be like your life depends on it. But I thought I should put that out there because I literally act like I'm giving drill like commands in this video and I don't know why. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy. Let's go. Hello, welcome to day 3 of the 25 Days of Christmas special that I'm doing on my channel. I've had to record this like a couple times now just because I find it really weird sitting in front of a camera and just talking. Like if I'm doing something like the Christmas tree, I can find it easy to like pace myself, but when I'm just like talking, I tend to ramble, so I'm gonna try not to do that. But if I do that, apologies in advance. To change up the pace of like the last couple videos, we had some bigger ones, so I wanted to do something a little bit fun, just kind of calmer. So one of the things I actually tend to enjoy a lot is gift giving, especially since I started working a couple years ago when I turned 16. So I thought I could make a video about this to kind of like help people during the holidays if you guys want tips and tricks. I've been told that it's really useful, especially from my family. They're like, I didn't know this stuff. Why didn't you tell us this before? But I thought it'd kind of be a fun thing to talk about, so I decided to make this video. So in my process of gift giving, which by the way I should mention applies to not only Christmas but just like other holidays in general, there's like a 3-step process that I use, which is recon/research. I use the word recon because it's fun, but it's mainly just like research. Refining your research, and then results. So what you got from the refining and the research. So first things first is your research, or recon as I called it, which basically is just finding out the bare minimum of what you want to do for Christmas. I tend to overthink things a lot when I just like don't have them written down, or I don't think about them thoroughly, so I just like think in my head, oh, I want to get gifts for tons of people, instead of thinking about who in specific. So the first step that I always say with your research is to definitely write a list down of who you want to get gifts for. If it's just like a simple like birthday or something, obviously you know who you're getting your gift for. But when it comes to a big holiday like Christmas, you kind of need to write down a list if you are like me and you have several people that you want to get gifts for, because not only do I have the 4 people in my family, but I also like to get gifts for my friends, my significant other if I have one, my boss usually I like to get something small for you know, helping me through work and stuff like that. But just writing a list down will really help you take a step back and look, and also help you with the next step, which is budgeting. If it comes to like, again, a small holiday where you're getting a couple gifts, you're not getting big, this can kind of be overlooked, but I still think it's really, really important to budget things properly, because if you're not budgeting them properly, you tend to overspend, or you tend to just like kind of forget what you're doing and you lose track of how much you're actually spending. This is really, really helpful. Again, if you have your big list of people, to just say, all right, I have 10 people on my list, I want to spend under $100, or I want to spend under $200, or I want to spend under $50. It doesn't matter, just write down a number, and that will really, really kind of help you guide you in towards the direction that you want to go, especially when it comes to each gift, because maybe you want to buy something a little bit nicer for your family, but when it comes to your like boss, you want to just get something a little bit small to like show appreciation. So after budgeting, you can kind of then go into the deep dive of research, as I call it, which is then looking at each person individually and figuring out who they are is how I kind of put it. Because if you say, oh, what do I want to get them, it's really hard. I find that this step is where people get stuck on, where they're like, I don't know what I want to get for someone. Maybe I should get them this, or maybe I should get them this. And they kind of like just come up with ideas instead of thinking about like the bigger picture, if you will. So I use my sister as an example because, I don't know, she's just the person I think of first when I think of examples. So with my sister, if I was like, I want to get a gift for my sister, I first have to think of like, who is she? So what does she do for a living? She's a cosmetologist. What is her favorite color? Does she have pets? You know, what's her hobbies? Just anything along those lines will really, really help you narrow down what kind of things you want to look into getting. So for example, as I said, she's a cosmetologist and she has pets. So maybe one year I'm like, oh, I want to get her a pair of, scissors to cut people's hair. So then I have to narrow it down, because in gift giving, I also feel like I should mention there's kind of like a weird balance that you should try to find, which is meaning and use. Because if you find something that's really useful, it's gonna be really nice, but at the same time it won't have any meaning to it. The person's gonna get the gift and be like, oh man, I could use this a ton, but they're gonna kind of forget months into using it. They're gonna forget what, who got it for them and why they got it for them. But at the same time, if you get something just meaningful, they're gonna be like, oh, this is really sentimental, and then put it on their, at the top shelf of their closet and like kind of forget about it for like years. So you want to kind of find a balance in between that. So I always say think of use first and then add your meaning to it. So again, going back to the example of my sister, she's a cosmetologist, so maybe I want to get her a pair of scissors to cut people's hair, or as they call them, shears. Maybe I want to get her a pair of shears, but then how am I going to add meaning to that? So something I've always considered and I've looked into is like, well, if I want to get her a pair of shears, maybe I'll get them custom engraved with her name in them. Or maybe I'll get them like her favorite color. Or maybe I'll get a set of them in a little case that has her name on it. Just adding something extra so that they know that you were thinking about them when you got the gift, if that makes sense. Because it's really easy to go, all right, let me go to, this store and just kind of like put my arm on the shelf and throw everything to my cart and I'll give one to each person, but then you lose kind of the meaning. So after doing that, you should be able to kind of narrow down what you want to get people, even if it's just like a basic idea. So you basically just want to narrow it down till you have a couple general ideas, so then you can move on to the next phase, which is refining. Basically, in this phase, I would say you just pick out more ideas. And you kind of, lower your ideas down to, a couple or just the one that you want to get. So if I'm saying for my brother, I'm like, he likes anime, I want to get him maybe a poster, maybe a t-shirt, or maybe a wallet, or maybe I want to get him a DVD, or maybe I want to get him this. So in this phase, you would then, kind of cut those down. So you would say then, all right, well, he wouldn't really use it. He doesn't need t-shirts. He has plenty of t-shirts. His room is full of posters. He doesn't really have room for that, but he would really enjoy a DVD. He just got a new TV. Maybe he would love that. So then you can go with that idea and, again, refine also not only just what you're getting, but what is involved in it and the meaning in it. So if I'm like, well, he really likes these, 5 shows, you would also need to refine that. Which one do you want to get? Now you should be kind of at this point where you have your budget, you have your list of people, you've kind of thought about what they might like or who they are, what, and what is involved in their life that they could use and would have meaning. You've refined it now. You've thought about which things in specific that you really, really like out of the list you made. Now is kind of connecting all of them, which is your results. So you have to kind of combine all these things at once, which is really difficult if you're, especially the budgeting part, because sometimes I come up with like a super duper good idea. And then it goes out the window as soon as I come to my budget. Because if I set my budget as $100 and there's 10 people and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to get my mom this super expensive kitchen set, but it's $116, that's literally above the entirety of the budget. So you kind of have to work, plan out. And it is okay for you to definitely 100% write down all your ideas and then say, okay, well, this one is kind of a little bit more expensive, so maybe I want to spend $20 on this one. And then this gift is really easy. I can get them and make them one homemade for like around $5. That's completely okay. In fact, a lot of my gifts, especially this year, are very homemade or very, have a lot more meaning than they probably have use. Most of my gifts are custom art stuff this year, so I definitely geared myself more towards the meaning than the use, but at the same time, they can use it as decor in their house or on their walls or whatever, so that's nice too. So if you have this like slightly off, balance mess even, like that's fine as well. I'm a mess. If you're confused and you're like, I still don't get it, I would recommend later on in the rest of the month, for the rest of the videos, I will be doing set videos on people's gifts that I'm doing. So I have a video on my friend's gift, I have a video on my boyfriend's gift, I have a video on my family's gifts, and I have a video on my dog's gifts. I can't say it, they're literally right here. But I'm gonna have videos on all of those, so if you're like kind of confused still and you're like, I want to see this kind of like, if you're a visual learner, I would say, you should probably check those out because I hope they're gonna be good, but just so you can see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. And I might even bring it up there and say, reference back to this video of saying like, yeah, I was thinking about doing this gift, but then I had to think about my budget, so who knows, we'll see. But yeah, I thought I'd do this little short one. It's literally been like 13 minutes of me just sitting in front of a camera rambling, but hopefully you enjoyed. There'll be more videos that are more intense, I'm sure, later down the line, but for now I thought I'd do something a little bit calmer, a little fun, and you also get to look at the beautiful Christmas tree this entire time, which is probably what you've been looking at. But thank you again if you stopped by. I don't really expect many people to enjoy this series, but if you are, that is a huge plus, and thank you so much. I've spent a lot of time planning this out. I've spent like a month planning this out. I've spent like so many weeks prepping for this, and a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears has gone into this, but I'm really enjoying it, so hopefully someone else is too. I will be back for day 4 tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you then. Bye.